Malcolm Cloud. Grew up here in the Cowichan Valley, and
I'm Heather Walker, and I grew up in the Kootenays, but then moved to Victoria for school, and that's where we met before we moved up here. Well, first I should say that one of Brock and my goals is to eat as much as we can off our own farm. We know how everything's grown here. We know that our chickens eat certified organic feed. We know they're free range. We know they live good lives. So I feel much better about eating their eggs rather than eggs I would buy anywhere else. And it's like that for everything, from meat to grain to veggies. So anyways, we went to the Times Colonist book sale in Victoria in April 2008, which is our favorite day of the year, and found this book, which is the first edition copy of Gene Logston's Small Scale Grain Raising. And in it, he basically dispels the myth that you need hundreds and hundreds of acres of land in the combine to grow your own grain. You need 1,100 square feet, which is 1/40th of an acre, to grow 60 pounds of wheat, and that's enough for us to live off of for a year, which is nothing. We have 10 acres here. We could feed 400 families.
yeah, we knew with the book that we wanted to do some more. And that's when we heard about the Kootenay Co-op Radio's the Creston Grain CSA, and the program I was listening to on Deconstructing Dinner was about the people in the CSA were visiting the farmers who were growing their grain, and they were so excited to be just like meeting the farmers and walking out in the fields and asking all these questions, and I just never realized how excited people were to, you know, be out in the field and meet the farmer and grow their own, or, you know, at least be connected to the person who's growing their own grain. And so that's when I kind of combined that idea with the small-scale grain raising and thought, gee, you know, like, why don't we get some people involved here and bring them out to the farm? And so that kind of is where the idea to get people out to our farm to learn with us how to grow their own grain.
Because we didn't know either. And I mean, we know lots of people we could call up and ask questions like, well, how exactly do you grow oats? And is there a certain kind that's better to plant than another? But I mean, why would you just make one phone call when you could get 50 families in one room, have that person come in and talk to you for an hour? That just seemed like a much more efficient way of learning for us and for the rest of the people.
Because each member that signed up got 200 square feet, so just enough to grow maybe 4 to 10 pounds of their own grain, more as like a practice plot than for them to grow enough for their yearly supply, with the idea being that once they were here and they learned how to do it themselves, then they could go into their own yards and plant their kind of main crop or rent land from the farmer or ourselves in the future and grow a bigger amount if they wish to.
200 square feet was just the right for a taste of it, we found.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to make them feel like it's possible. So if they can handle 200 square feet, they get the confidence to try for 1,100 square feet and grow their own properly.
And that's supposed to be enough to have your grain for a full year?
That's 60 pounds of wheat.
It really depends on how much
okay.
bread you bake or pancakes you eat, right? Because 60 pounds of flour essentially, which is, you know, a 10-pound bag every 2 months.
One loaf of bread every week for a year.
Yeah, or a little more. I think it's if you want to grow more of your own food, it makes sense to grow your own grain. I think there was kind of this idea that, you know, grain was grown on the prairies in vast acreages by people with combines, and that, you know, you grew your own carrots, you grew your own tomatoes, but it was silly to think of growing your own grain. But if you're willing to grow your own tomatoes and grow your own carrots because you want your own fresh produce grown in the way that you know that it's been grown, then you should be growing your own grain because it doesn't take that much space. You can grow it organically yourself, like, you know, the conventional crops are all sprayed with Roundup, and or as far as we've come to learn.
Horrified to learn. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about grain, unlike a lot of our, you know, fresh vegetables that we grow in the garden, is you can store grain all throughout the year. So if you're trying to eat off your farm or eat off your garden plot, you can harvest your grain at the end of the season, put it in a big, you know, brown paper bag. Like some of these bags are just full of our. So here we've just got a big bag of our rye that we harvested, and we'll just keep it like that all year. And anytime we want to make a whole grain rye salad or mix this with some other flour to make a rye bread, then it's easy, and that'll keep for a year. Yeah, so that's the rye. We just cut the heads off with, you know, an inch or 2 or 3 of stem, and then throw all that in a pillowcase and whack it. And then I'll do a bit in my hand here. These barbs kind of get crappy on anything. But you can start to see the grain there already.
You know, isn't that stunning? This is 2 years old now. I just keep adding to it. But these are oats here. And what else do I know was what? That's barley. And
this is the hard white spring wheat. It's a modern variety. It was quite productive for us this year. And this looks like the kamut. You can see kind of that little squiggle in the neck there. The kamut
has a
is kind
squiggle?
of one of the identifiers. Yeah, it's kind of wheedly.
And the flax, I love this one. Because it's got little seeds inside, right? So it sounds like jingle bells. Yeah. Anyways, pretty. I like knowing how to grow things, because even if you choose not to, at least you know how to. It's not an intimidating thing. So if you're ever in a circumstance where the food security thing, where you need to grow your own supply, then it'd be nice if we all had those skills. Just like knowing how to sew on a button, it'd be nice to know that you can actually sow and harvest your own grain supply.